Yeah, but wouldn't be my long ass pause because of power tools and chainsaws in the background of my neighborhood. Yeah, that kind of summer. Anyway, hey everybody, what's up? This is Retrokid Reviews. Probably wishing I still had time to do a triple feature to do this week's double reviews. Well, two of the three movies I wanted to see are in, well, not in theaters, but now we're on streaming. And the other one is from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. So we're going to try to hopefully make it our best to make that a Monday video content-wise. So unless this comes out later today on a Sunday or Monday the day after, happy start of summer reviews over here on the channel, long story short, regardless. So with a little bit of... It just warmed up. Well, with a functioning battery out of the way, let's talk about The Accountant 2 and Predator Killer Killers, the two titular movies for this review portion for this video that just got streaming as of this week. So let's start off with Accountant 2 out of the way. My overall thoughts with the first movie, we'll put that in the time codes here below in case you guys want to just rush to the sequel. I thought it was okay for what it was 8 years ago. Ben Affleck was trying his best to be like a Matt Damon impression, and yeah, already you can hear the chainsaws in the background. Sorry, guys. Yeah, his impression of a Matt Damon level, kind of like Jason Bourne kind of performance, but the hook of it from this series directed by, I believe, Gavin O'Connor, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I am not, because IMDb is fun when you second screen. He's the same director from the original movie, and the gimmick for Christian Wolf, Affleck's character, is that he has an action thriller equivalent of some kind of neurodivergence of the spectrum. Long story short there. I think the first movie had to do the heavy lifting, explaining his condition. Into the sequel, however, you basically get the crux of him having a whole new therapy method, because I think the Solomon Grundy mantra was a Warner Brothers thing, and because they were switching studios in 8 years in between, I guess they wanted to give him a whole new therapy method for his neurodivergence. So talking about the lightest respect I think this franchise has with the spectrum aside, for autistic audiences out there, outside of that, it's still an okay action thriller for what it is. I was looking into, I think when I watched this on Prime this weekend, that it had action comedy with it. The only comedy elements there were, it was probably mistagged, obviously, but first week release kind of situation for that, kind of like straight to streaming situation. If anything else, yeah, John Bernthal was where the actual, if we're going by Amazon's metrics of what comedy is kind of there. And not for those who didn't sit through my years watching, I think well, reviewing some of Walking Dead and most of Bernthal's later years as the Punisher. Yeah, the Accountant series was kind of his middle ground before going into Frank. So outside of that, it was a good preview at the time of what you were going to be getting later on down the road for his version of Frank Castle. And it's more of the same here for the sequel. It's just he leans in more of like the comedic elements of like how like nonchalantly he is at times with some stuff like that. I think Jeremy John said it in his video that the whole movie should have been more centered around the two of them, and I could kind of see why. It kind of gives like discount like supernatural brothers just running around the country just doing like odd jobs and stuff like that kind of stuff, which is actually pretty interesting for what it is. My TV is probably flashing in between because I'm sitting through I think a VOD of a on stream, so my bad in advance in case that's showing off there. Outside of that, let me pause just for posterity before we get to the next movie. J.K. Simmons becomes the cold open kill. He was the whole reason why, more or less, the movie was following around Christian in the first movie around, and now is the whole reason why they're kind of sort of more or less avenging him and some other stuff exclusive to the movie later down the road. For Danielle Panna, if I got her name right, last reviewed here on the channel for that Cowboy Bebop adaptation I don't want to talk about anymore. Outside of that, she is okay for what she is for a mid-level boss. That also, I guess, has the same situation I thought John was in the first movie. She was a mid-level boss that eventually kind of has a redemption arc by the end. So you'll know it when you see it, so I'll leave it at that. For Kathleen Annie Robertson, for Mary Beth Medea, the I think federal agent that replaced J.K. Simpson's Ray King character from the first movie. She's actually a lot better this time around. She walked back into the role pretty much, I think, the smoothest. And what I'm saying is pretty much above average, like almost 8 years, almost 10 years, depending on who you ask. Not too late follow up to a sequel like this. The only one I think who is having the hardest time sliding back into the character, I would still say, is probably Ben Affleck. This is a very play against type for him, even for 8 years ago, so I can see how it's a little off. Also, I also see how this kind of previewed like his action style, how he got Batman later down the road with VES and the Snyderverse era for his career. So the miles may vary still there on that, if anything else. Ultimately, it's still 7 out of 10. It's okay for what it is. It could have been way worse as far as a follow-up to it. There's like hints of comedy, just playing off of Christian's condition, and obviously Barthel's aggressive, crazier brother attitude. But not really much after that. And all the set pieces you probably saw in the trailers is basically in the reported, I believe, almost 90 minute, yeah, about that, 2 hour and 12 runtime. So you get like the gist of it. The gunplay is a little better, more on John's end, a little wooden on Ben's, because it just sounds like he just hasn't done this in a while, more or less. So with that out of the way, and with the closest thing to a plasma caster I have here for the channel, my actual final half of this video, the Predator Killer of Killers review. I highly recommend Matt Draper. He already did a quick breakdown and review of the whole movie. I'm going to be mainly running the highlights. This will be full spoilers going on forward. The Accountant 2 review is basically sporadic spoilers in case you guys want to still watch it. Long story short there. And Predator Killer and Killers' case is definitely full spoilers, and it is absolutely worth it for a spoilers review. So if you need to hop out now, I'll give you a few seconds and then come back into my overall end cards and final thoughts. Okay, you still here? Cool. So let's get to the awesome part of all three vignettes. The Predators themselves, they're very well animated. I don't know the studio off the top of my head, so as always, wiki down below for that animation studio. 20th Century Studios is doing a really good job maintaining the IP as far as the Predator franchise goes. Dan Trachtenberg and I believe a co-director for, I don't know which segment, Joshua Wansrung, if I got his name right, are co-directing this. Trachtenberg obviously was here earlier last time with my pre-review last cards there, in case I got time for that. Yeah, and it's still a return to form for what Trachtenberg set up during Prey, of like seeing what the Predator would be like in different timelines, different centuries, and stuff like that. And basically, all three timelines are what everyone in the fandom wanted them to do, probably before Prey even was a thing. They wanted to see them in the Viking era. They wanted to see them obviously in feudal Japan, more obviously in my case. And we'll get to the feudal Japan segment in a bit. And World War II, or just any world wars in general, with a Yakuza just running around like probably no man's land kind of territories in like World War One, or just seeing how it would handle crossfire in like occupied Germany during World War II. You do get a bit of a crossfire on the bullet section. So the name for all three segments is the shield, the sword, and the bullet, I believe, for all name of the segments. I won't go into too details for all the main characters. All you need to know for the shield side of things is a Viking mother trying to avenge her clan, her family, I believe, and then eventually her son due to cross tribe fights, and obviously the Predator coming in, messing things up. And she basically lives because her son sacrificed herself for to take down that timeline's Predator, and she gets immediately nabbed by an elder, I think, royal guard for the Yakuchas. Same case here also for the feudal Japan segment. It is the only one out of the three that is virtually wordless, and does really well because this particular survivor is absolutely a ninja, and I believe his brother is feudal Japan's samurai. They were dueling factions at the time. I don't know my history is off the top of my head, but it could be a historical fictionalized version, so let me know again in the comments down below for that, if I got that off. And the final kill for that Predator in that segment was actually really cool. The brothers tag teaming him while it was still cloaked, and then the reveal of it getting decloaked was really cool, so I won't spoil too much about that. It's very gnarly for what it is, especially for a Predator kill. All the kills for most of the surrounding people around all these two segments is the most gnarly. I would say the Vikings has it the gnarliest when we get to the third act. There is a third act to this, and I'll explain why in a minute. So for the bullet segment, before we get to finishing up Feudal Japan, I'm gonna say is my favorite one out of the three, with good reason. Again, this movie feels a lot like the Animatrix, or a lot of like random stories just coming together, anthology kind of based storytelling, and it was really cool for that, for what it is. The bullet segment is actually my second favorite because it has the most dialogue going on. It has the most of what like even a fan film would be. Because I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn there was a World War II fan film set around to be basically like the first Predator movie. So if I could find that fan film still, again, cards there if I still got time for the cards. And everything about it was really cool. Also, I had no clue that Michael Biehn himself last reviewed here during Aliens for Romulus. I did not think he would be here for this franchise, and much like his fellow Alien cast members, had the distinct honor of not getting killed by just a Terminator and an Alien. He gets killed by a Terminator, Alien, and Predator. The only one I think canonized as a legit three-peat was obviously Bill Paxton, late Bill Paxton, R.I.P. still to him. And won't explain too much of how he gets taken out, but the whole crux of like the World War II bullet story is essentially a pilot getting chased by a bigger pirated Yautja, and it was really cool for what it is. A lot of aerial combat, does a lot of high dives. It does try to kill the engine early in the combat to like take out the cloak somehow. In Taurus's case, the only one of the three I remember their names of. So again, this is still my first viewing, so my bad in advance. I will change up probably my remembrance of the plot when we get to the end of the year reviews. This is definitely top contender for end of year top fives at the very least here for the channel. So ultimately it's a good story in and of itself, and you get the closest to an epilogue with all of them, what their days was like after taking down the Predator. In Taurus's case, he just came home after the war, was redoing his dad's workshop for planes and stuff like that, mechanically speaking, and then immediately gets down to this movie's third act, which is the most bonkers out of them all, and that is saying a lot for this franchise. With all the dumb bullshit that was happening in Shane Black's The Predator. Yeah, go to my review for that, because the less said the better for that, as always. So, basically, I mentioned the Elder Predator early on, and I think was also shown off in the trailers. But the thing about him, and I think Matt Draper, I think, sent the hardest for this, is that his cape was draped in, like, spines down to, like, skulls and stuff. I noticed more of the skulls than the spines, so that's why I'm probably going to need a second rewatch for that. Outside of that, it does kind of follow through than I thought what was going to be the sequel for Predators all the way back when. I didn't do a full review of it. Long story short, it's more or less kind of insane for what it is. And yeah, the gladiatorial combat for more or less all of that movie was actually cool for what it is. It's actually insane for what it is. I'm generalizing more or less, and yeah. I don't know. It's really cool. It has a good bookend, and explains why all these time period characters are in the same place. Frozen. They figured out cryogenics. So there was an old, I want to say Marvel comic that tried to explain time travel in some weird capacity, and it wasn't really gelling for me. I think it was the Benjamin Percy era still. So that's the good news of it all. But that's really where I think that theory is going to probably end up lying on the field when it comes to that kind of storytelling going forward. However, again, the less said, the better about the third act gladiatorial combat. It's really cool. They have callbacks to 2 for the flintlock pistol. And it also has an explanation to why it ended up there, because Naru from Prey gets a not really name drop, but like a cameo essentially at the tail end of the movie. And you'll see why. So yeah, generalizing the third act aside, this is easily a 9 out of 10. There's not too much fluff other than the Viking section I'm gonna have to rewatch. Outside of that, what did you think of all of these reviews? Let me know in the comments down below. My apologies in advance for not getting my ballerina review on time. I'm gonna try my best to get it throughout the week. I'm gonna try to see it Monday and hopefully have it out like Tuesday or Thursday for generalized content, unless things change for Summer Games Fest. just like you guys saw earlier, and now going into the end cards. My previous video here, or more importantly short, for my overall reactions for Resident Evil 9 Requiem, aka RA9, being announced. Go to my other hand over here to my previous video, which was talking about, of course, the season finale of Season 2 of Last of Us. So again, short here to hopefully, I guess, manifest a Wolverine versus Wolverine versus Predator actual animated what if movie, because that would be cross promotional. That would be pretty cool for what it is. And until more cross promotional ideas I'll probably come up with after watching Badlands, Predator Badlands later this year, I'm Retrokid Review saying, yeah, I actually need coffee. That was a lot much more than usual, right?